All right, here's our video today, piecewise functions on the TI-84. And I'll be using the TI-84 Plus, the Plus CE. So as you can see in the background here, we have a negative absolute value, and absolute value functions are piecewise functions. And I have a video on absolute value functions. But we'll do different types of piecewise functions. Let's look at them. And here you can see that we have three pieces, so three functions. And we'll get my pen working. Put that color. So over here we have this function right here is a positive, has a positive slope. This one has no slope, and this one here has no slope. And you see there's three functions. Now this open circle here, right there, means that we're not including this 3. The 3 is not included for over here, that function, but it is included in this function because it's filled in. So remember that. Keep that in mind. All right, and let's say we have this absolute function over here, and we have some conditions, right? It's saying x plus 3 if x is greater than 0. So if x is, let's say x equals 5, well, we know it's greater than 0. So we're going to say x plus 3, x is 5, so it would be 8. Right? If we make a domain and range box, right? If we make an x and f of x, well, if we say x is 0, well, we can't use the top one because x has to be greater than 0. So we'll use the bottom one. It says x is less than or equal to 0. In that case, we would say 0. If x is negative 1, well, negative 1 is less than 0, so we'll have to use this. And it'll be negative 1 because it says negative x. In this case, it'll be 1. If it's negative 2, it'll be 2. If it's negative 3, it'll be 3. Negative 4, guess what? It'll be 4. Just following that. What if x is 8? What would it be if x is 8? Oh, you got to use the top one, right? Because x is greater than 0 when that happens. And it'll be 11. Because 8 plus 3 is 11. Simple as that, right? So those are the conditions of the piecewise. So let's graph it. Now the first thing is you hit the y equal button. You get the y equal screen, right? There's the y equal button over there. And then hit alpha y equal. And if you hit alpha y equal, this will appear over there. And you want that to appear because that's going to create a fraction bar. So again, you're going to hit the y equal button, and then you're going to hit the alpha y equal button, and that'll appear, and then just hit enter. Go back if you need to. And when you press enter, this appears over here. You see the fraction bar, which then you'll punch in your equation. And you could use parentheses. Sometimes they work with parentheses, sometimes they do not. Sometimes you have to, doesn't matter. So what I'll do is on the top, the numerator, you're going to punch in let's write the equation so you see what I'm doing here. Get my pen. Let's use green. So we said that f of x is going to equal f of x is x plus 3 if, the condition if x was greater than 0. So over here on the top one, we're going to put x plus 3, and I'll show you what this will look like. But in the denominator, you're going to put in x is greater than 0. So you put the condition in the denominator. And you do it for y2. Over here, you're going to do for the next equation. All right, so let's see what it looks like. So on top, I put in x plus 3. I use parentheses on the top one. Sometimes it works without the parentheses. You can check it. X plus 3 was in the numerator. And in the denominator, I put x is greater than 0 because that was the condition. And then I went to the y2. Don't forget that you have to put in the alpha y2 so you can get back that screen. Remember the screen? I'll show it to you again. Alpha y2, you got to do it twice, right? You have to do it for the y2 also. Now, for this one, I put in negative x. And the condition was that x is less than or equal to 0. By the way, to get these inequality signs, let me show you what you have to do for that. you have to hit second math. So when you're down in here and you put x, don't forget you hit second math and these inequality signs will come up. Right? Here's the second button in blue, and below alpha is math. So hit second math. You'll see the inequality signs you can just plug in. All right, and this is what it should look like. You have that, and just press graph. And this is what you should get. So you have your two functions. Now you have to be careful if you get one that where you have to use the word end. And I'll show you what that means. Let's say you have this piecewise function, and we'll call it g of x. Could be anything. H of x, f of x. And let's say you had x, and we had this kind of in set builder, kind of a notation where x is greater than 0 and less than 5. That's one condition. And then we had x plus 2, and that's where we had x greater than or equal to 5 or less than 9. So you have to, when you see this, where you have these intervals where x is greater than one thing and less than another or equal to, you need to use the word and. And I'll show you where to find that. So you're going to go back to y equals. You go back to y equals, and in the y equals, do you remember what you do? In the y equals, you're going to press alpha y, and in the y equals, you're going to press alpha y equals, and that sign will come up. So let's go back to that. So make sure that comes in, right? And then you're going to get that fraction bar, and you just do the same steps. Here's the fraction bar. Now this is what it would look like, but I'll show you how I got the end. Because your calculator can't, let's just write the equation first. Again, we said g of x, if we can get it in there. That's what it's going to look like. Let's go back. Well, let's write it here. Why not? Get my pen working first. So we said the equation was g of x. And we'll put in that little brace. And we said x, and x had to be greater than 0 and less than 5. So there's the end. And then we have another equation here, function, where x was greater than or equal to 5, but less than 9. This is how it came out. So if you want to write that equation down, that piecewise, how did we get the n? So we did the same thing. Let's go back. So on the numerator, we put x, and the condition was that x was greater than 0, but less than 5. So the calculator can't see that interval. So what you have to use is the word n. So I put in x, and you go to second math, and you get the inequality sign. So x is greater than 0. And then for the end, you got to do second math, and then scroll to logic. So if you press second math, scroll to the logic, you'll see end. So make sure you put the end sign in there so the calculator knows what's happening. So again, we put in x, and I put them in parentheses. You can try them without parentheses if you want to play around with it. And then in the numerator, the condition was that x is greater than 0. And then you put in, again, second math, scroll to logic, and x is less than 5. Be careful on the signs. Sometimes you can get the signs mixed up. And then you go to the second one and do the exact same thing. X plus 2 if, and of course, x is greater or equal to 5. Be careful with that. And x is less than 9. And then if you graph it, you'll get this. And that's the graph. All right, that's our video today.